It has been a day full of stars here at the World Cup. A little bit of a delay in one of the games going on right now, but for Norway and Senegal, we are starting on time and ready to go here on State of Soccer for what is turning into our World Cup annual watchalongs, or whatever annual of every 4 years actually is. But my lack of knowledge about words aside, I'm Josh Sperber, joined by Jamie Lauder, as we get ready for one of the most exciting matches in Group I as Norway takes on Senegal, a crucial matchup as the knockout stages loom in the U.S.'s World Cup.
Yeah, this is going to be a really exciting game with loads on the line for both teams. Norway obviously needing a point to pretty much secure the qualification, but Senegal needing a win really to put themselves back in the race to make the round of 32. So it'll be a game where I think both teams will be trying to play on the front foot and attack, and hopefully it's a really enjoyable watch.
And as Jamie mentioned, there are a lot of standing points on the line here. France and Iraq is currently suspended right now in Philadelphia, as our producer Brian can attest to. Heavy rains going down in Philly that's making playing that game a little bit difficult, but that one should be restarting shortly. And if that score holds, France currently leads Iraq 1-0. France will advance. And Norway, like France, needs a win to 100% secure their qualification. But again, as Jamie said, a tie would almost guarantee them a match in the knockout stages, with a matchup against France looming for Norway. And as we talk about France, we talk about one of the legends of the World Cup in Kylian Mbappe. We saw Lionel Messi take over the all-time World Cup goal-scoring record earlier. So, as I said, it's been a day full of stars at the World Cup, and the brightest one in this match, Jamie, is certainly Erling Haaland, the striker for Norway.
Yeah, I don't think you can ever write off a team that has Erling Haaland in at any level of football. You know, Erling's a player that he I don't want to say guarantees goals, but he guarantees a work ethic from a striker that you don't see from many other centre forwards. And it's not only the work ethic, it is physical prowess. It's how intelligent he is with his movement and his ball striking. He's a top striker, and like you rightly said there, I think he's probably the only one really that you would put in the same category as Leo Messi and Kylian Mbappe at the moment in the world.
And that is certainly high praise for a man like Haaland that has been deserved at a top club like Manchester City. But Senegal brings kind of a different scope to this World Cup, a very experienced roster, guys like Champions League winner Ed Mendy in goal, Kalidou Koulibaly, and Sadio Mané. But Nicholas Jackson, the striker out of Bayern Munich, is someone that I have my eye on. He will be out in front for Senegal in this one.
Yeah, totally. I really like Nicholas Jackson. I think he was really good at Chelsea, and he didn't really have the brightest of starts to his Bayern Munich career like he'd have been hoping for. But I think he's quite similar in a lot of ways to Erling Haaland, that he looks to receive in behind the last line quite a lot. His movement is really intelligent. Often it's on the blind side and in between a centre back and a full back, and he just tries to receive in that little pocket all the time and gets shots off early. So he's a player that I really like. He adds pace to that Senegal side. Not that they need it as well with Mane and Ismail Assar on either side, but I think he's the tip of what is a really positive, pacey front three Senegal.
Jackson 6'2", Haaland closer to 6'4", probably. Two very large strikers, experience in the midfield, solid goaltending as well at some of the top levels in European soccer, as we are underway between Norway and Senegal, a Group I clash. But Jamie, what do you see kind of differentiates one team from another? Like, where is something that Norway could have an advantage over Senegal and vice versa when you break down these starting 11s?
For me, having watched both teams already, Norway are a massive threat from set players, and I don't just say that because they have a corner as we speak. Norway are an incredibly big team, and you can tell that they put a lot of work in how they conduct set pieces, and whether that's the influence of their captain Martin Odegaard coming from Arsenal, a really set piece heavy team, as we've all seen it in the Premier League over the last few years. When I saw them in the last game against Iraq, Norway just had control of the game, and they were always in the game whenever momentum was going against them, because they were able to win a free kick from a deep position, or able to win a corner, and then they get those real big hitters in the box, target them, and they'll always pose a threat when they've got that sort of quality in the final third.
Haaland will undoubtedly be the target man for Martin Odegaard, Premier League winner with Arsenal, as he sends in the corner, but it's knocked away by head of the white jerseys Senegal. It's deflected back towards the net by Nusa of Norway, but it goes out of bounds. It might have been deflected off Senegal for a corner, and the replays show that it was deflected off of the Senegalese midfielder for another Norway corner. Take a look at the starters for Norway. Haaland, of course, up front, the straight number 9, as Odegaard's corner goes off another Senegalese jersey for a third corner kick for the Norwegians. Sorloth and Nusa on the wings. Berge, Odegaard, and Arsenes in the midfield. A 4-3-3 for Norway with Nyland in between the pipes. For Senegal, they employ a similar formation, 4-2-3-1 per ESPN, as Ryerson gets set up for the corner on the other side of the field for Norway. Nicholas Jackson up front, Sadio Mané on the left side of the midfield, Sarr on the right, Kamara in the center, and the two gays in the defensive midfield, Pape and Idrissa. And a corner kick headed down, knocked away by the feet of a couple of Senegalese center backs, Edward Mendy near there as well, Champion League goalie with Chelsea in 2021, as that was not too far off from the head of Muller.
Yeah, like I say, Norway will always be in matches, and I firmly believe against any team that they come up against in the competition, they can force corner after corner or long throw after long throw, and they can just sort of pin the opposition back into their own box and make lives really difficult for them, because when it comes down to set pieces, it doesn't matter on the outfield quality of the players. You know, it's all about the intelligence, the planning, and largely the physical structure of whoever the offensive players are. And Norway are really fortunate that they have 3 or 4 big hitters that you can look to target, generally around the back post that they've done so far, but it gives them massive opportunities every time.
They very nearly had a goal during their third corner in the first 3 minutes of this game, but if not for a Nicholas Jackson offside call, Senegal would have had a chance straight on at net, but offsides was called, and Norway gets possession again. And it's only been about 4 minutes thus far, but the Norwegians have absolutely dominated possession to start off this one. Nyland sends a long boot over the timeline. Haaland heads it away. Ricochets off a Senegalese defender and goes out of bounds. Norway will throw in. Playing it through the back with their center backs, Ayer and Hege in the middle for Norway. Back to Ayer on the right side. Ayer again. Cautious buildup right now for Norway, so Senegal will start to press. Ayer in most control, lofts one over the midfield, out towards the right wing. Odegaard tries to dribble it around, and it gets poked out of bounds. Sorloth is there. And it'll be another Norway throw.
Great to see some of the comments from the people jumping in on the stream on YouTube. Got Giuseppe D'Angelo here to be the top fan again. Great to see you back, Giuseppe.
He might only come to be the top fans in these watch-alongs, but we're happy to have you back, Giuseppe. Welcome.
Love the involvement. And interesting point from the US Soccer Show, Norway is overrated. What that, Josh?
I disagree. I think Norway is a dark horse in this World Cup.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, already, as we've said earlier, a win secures their place in the knockout round, even with a game against France looming. That one likely to decide Group I. France has restarted against Iraq 5 minutes into the second half there. It's still 1-0, courtesy of Kylian Mbappe. Senegal just had their closest thing to a chance, a cross batted away by Nyland, the Sevilla goaltender. And I think one reason that I'm pretty high on Norway throughout this tournament is their fan presence in the United States.
For sure. I'm obviously based over in the UK, but seeing some of the videos of the fans, I love the little row that they've got going on, haven't they? They've got that big, similar to the Icelandic clap of 2016. I really love it, and it's great to see. Obviously, we won't get massively into all of the controversy around this World Cup in particular. But it's brilliant to see fans making the journey across to North America and really embracing the culture and having a good time while they do it. It's what World Cup football is all about.
And that it really is. Like, the best part about any World Cup is not going to be the soccer or whatever Messi did that day, but it's just about seeing, the fans from different countries interact and just bond over, elite football. Like, are you ever going to see a collection of better soccer matches than in a World Cup? I don't think so.
Totally.
So Senegal controlling, and they're attacking third. They'll have a long throw from the sideline, close to the corner. It's headed away from the box. Tap back towards the net. Deflected by the Norwegian defense. Pass lofted in. Goes back to Jackson before it's taken away. Now Norway in control, but possession is taken right back. It's been pinballing, and it looks like Norway's got to run forward. Sorloth dispossessed, and now Senegal takes it across the timeline. 8 minutes gone by in a scoreless first half thus far. Heavy pressure from Norway, as looks like a foul will be given to Arsenis in the midfield. Will not be a card, but the first foul of the game against Norway. Grabbing the shoulder, so that looked like a pretty clear one.
Yeah.
Pretty long free kick right at the top of the attacking third for Senegal. And they look like they've got a couple choices of who will deliver. But standing over it right now for Senegal is Kamara. He raises his hand and sends in a cross, immediately headed away by the Norwegian defense. And that's that height, Jamie, that you were talking about. Just the size of this Norway team is imposing enough to scare a lot of teams from lofting balls into the box.
Totally. It's a hard position initially to try and deliver a good ball from. But I totally agree. When you're trying to, with those sorts of free kicks, just drop it in behind the defence, it's incredibly hard when you look and you've got sort of 3 or 4 6'4" powerhouses there to clear anything that drops in the box. They don't want a bouncing ball to deal with, and they do really well to prevent that.
Senegal, though, certainly giving their best efforts. They don't want to appear afraid of sending it in over the Norwegian wall of the defense, allowing 1 goal in their 4-1 victory over Iraq to start off the World Cup. Headed towards the midfield and out of play. 10 minutes have gone by in the first half, still scoreless. And France has taken a 2-0 lead over Iraq. Second goal from Kylian Mbappe in the 54th minute over in Philadelphia. So it looks more and more likely that France versus Norway the next time that they play each other will be for Group I.
And is it a surprise to see that man killing Mbappe back on the score sheet?
Yeah, I mean, Mbappe scored. The sky's still blue. I mean, it's not a big surprise. That'll be a Friday 3:00 game between France and Norway, by the way. Senegal with a draw in their first matchup.
Great comment here from Pepe Hype Train 5527, who is here for the Pepe Hype Train.
I mean, if you've watched many of our videos, you'll know that I think everyone on State of Soccer is very much here for the Pepe Hype Train. So, welcome.
Totally. I'm still clinging on to the Josh Sargent Hype Train.
I'll always be on that hype train. It's a great first name, so it's a hard train to get off.
Yeah. Great initials as well.
Still scoreless in the 12th minute here. Throw in for Norway. As it looks like we're going to have a substitution. Ryerson will be subbed off, and he will be replaced by a new right back, Marcus Holmgren Pedersen, who plays his club ball for Torino in Serie A. So a tough loss for Norway, and at this stage it's got to be a very serious injury to take a starter out this early in the game.
Yeah, that'll be a big loss for them, obviously. Like you said earlier, both teams are keeping unchanged starting 11s for this match. But Peterson isn't a bad player to bring in. He didn't feature in the last match against Iraq, but he's an experienced player, and although it will make them weaker, I suppose you'd rather get it out of the way earlier in the match and give him more time to settle in than later on in the first half.
And from some of these newer countries, these up-and-coming soccer countries, essentially that we're seeing in Norway and Senegal, these teams without some of the longer established brands of some of the European teams and even a couple of the other African teams in this World Cup. But the one kind of caveat with both of these clubs may just be the depth. And we're going to see that get put to the test with a starter already subbed out for Norway.
Early.
Senegal in control now. Through ball just skips the foot of Mané. And now it's in control by Norway. Going all the way back to their goaltender. Haaland has to boot it away with heavy Senegalese pressure. And this Norway team is going to need to stay composed because it seems like as the clock has kept ticking, the pressure has come up and up for Senegal, just increasing their press up at midfield. Shot for Norway, and that's Odegaard, who connects on the one-timer but sends it above the net. And he's upset with himself there. That looked like a really good ball in from the right wing, but Odegaard just couldn't get a foot on it. Maybe an offsides as well on that far side.
Yeah, totally. He tries to side foot that, just needs to sort of take the handbrake off a little bit and approach that with his chest over the ball and strike with his laces, and he'd probably have a little bit more success.
Clearance headed back by Norway, right to the Senegalese. Back to the defense, Koulibaly, the captain for Senegal, formerly of Napoli, now in Saudi Arabia. Back to Mendy, out of the right back. Build-up improving as Mané gets control. He's bringing it up the midfield. Lobs it and switches the play to the other side. Tries to go between the legs, but the pass is blocked. And now it's back up to the striker, Nicholas Jackson. All inside. And that will go out of bounds off of Norway for a Senegal corner. Good effort by the midfield for Norway, particularly Papa Gueye, who takes the ball out from out of bounds for Senegal's first corner of the match.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love those little 10 runs that Papagay showed where he started deep, and it's really good football from Senegal on the attack. It's a good transition, and they've switched it wide, and Ismaila Sarr's dangerous 1v1, so they've isolated the fullback, and then the run from deep is a great way to get him behind, and let's see if they can do anything from this corner.
3 corners in the first few minutes for Norway, and now it'll be a Senegalese one. Taking it for Senegal is Diouf, the left back, and it sails over the center of the pitch, and it'll be Norway's throw. Still scoreless here. France is looking all but clinched, and now we're through that match, not including the massive rain delay after halftime. It is still 2-0 Kylian Mbappe in France. And talking about Mbappe, we really have the past, present, and future of elite goal scorers. I'm sure every single one of us watched that Messi and Argentina masterclass earlier, 2-0 win over Austria, as Jackson's shot is swallowed up by the Norway defense. Now Senegal is in close again. Top of the box. They go back to Kamara and try to push forward with their defense. Diatta back to the midfield. Idrissa Gueye to Papa. Back to Idrissa. Diatta centers it. And Senegal continues to pass around. But I think that if you look at the past, present, and future, Mbappe is 3 goals away, 2 goals away now from Messi. And if Norway can continue to qualify for the World Cup, I think the next man to break that record after Mbappe would be Erling Haaland.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. It's hard in international football because on individual quality, I don't think there's a massive amount that splits Haaland and Mbappe. But Erling Haaland's heavily reliant on his team Norway qualifying for more World Cups and more international tournaments. With Kylian, it's sort of, it's obvious that France are going to qualify for more World Cups than they don't. And it gives him that platform. Even from when he was really young, the 2018 World Cup, he was able to perform on a stage that Erling Haaland hasn't been able to over the last few years just because of the different qualities of the nations. So you feel bad for players like Erling Haaland, and we've seen it in the past with players like Zlatan Ibrahimovic at Sweden over the years, players that individual quality shines, but unfortunately they don't get as much of an opportunity to showcase that due to not getting as many chances in World Cups. And when they do end up on the world's biggest stage, the teams are likely to be on the back foot in most games.
And Norway with a shot, but it is saved as that one rolls right into the arms of Ed Mendy. That looked like Bears, the center midfielder, who gave the easy shot to Senegal. Still scoreless, about 20 minutes into the first half. Norway needs a win to 100% guarantee their qualification. And with France's lead over Iraq, a tie would all but confirm it either way. Senegal passing it through their back line. Koulibaly as it goes back to the goalkeeper. And of course, we've already seen braces from both Mbappe and Messi. So Haaland, I'm sure, is thinking that he's up next, bagging a couple goals in Norway's 4-1 win to start the World Cup, as we have a foul against the Norwegians. Down for Senegal is Niakate on a slide tackle. He kind of just went right into the Norwegian midfielder Arsnes, and they collided. Niakate goes right down.
Yeah, really brave from Moussa Niakate there. to get in. He's a really talented player, a left-footed ball-playing centre-back, and I love that he has both the in-possession side of the game, which we've already seen already in this first half. He switched the play to his minor side quite a few times on that really talented left foot, but he's brave as well, and that's a 50-50 in the middle of the park that he steps into and accepts probably that the Norwegian midfielder is going to make contact with him, but accepts it in order to skin the foul anyway.
Senegal gets inside the 18-yard box for a brief moment, but it's passed out as Norway's defense clamps down. Ball going back towards the back line. Defensive midfield in control. Lofted ball sent in, headed off of Jackson. He chases it and sends it back, and a cross popped up into the air. It's going to be tough to control. It'll be Norway who gets away with it.
It's now 3-0 to France in that match against Iraq. Ousmane Dembele on the score sheet in that one.
One of the best players from the 2025 Champions League, the first championship for Paris Saint-Germain in the UCL. And they're showing the row, which I think Jamie and I both agreed has been one of the highlights of this entire World Cup. The Norway rows going on at the stadium right now.
It's brilliant to watch, isn't it?
I don't know what's cooler, seeing it happen on like a New York City subway or just like a full row of Norway fans doing it in the stands right now. I mean, it's just so cool to see. We do have our hydration break, though, and we are still scoreless. So, Jamie, what has gone right? What has gone wrong in these first 20-something minutes?
I think this is a really interesting match. Norway started the better team, and to be honest, it isn't anything different to what we said before the match. If you think about Norway's best chances and when they've had more momentum in the match, it's when they've been able to get set plays. So they started really well in the opening few minutes because they were able to whip in corner after corner after corner. Whereas as the match has developed, Senegal have shown the pace that they've got in transition. And not only transition, in open play as well. They're playing out from the back well, and they're enticing that Norway press, but it's not aligned. So then when they break through that first line, they've got runners from midfield, and they've got wide men with loads of pace that are able to attack the men 1v1. And Senegal have really got into the match over the last few minutes. The one part of the play that lets them down, in my opinion, is when they start trying to rush that attack. Obviously, it'll be playing in all the players' minds that they need to get a goal and that this is a match that they need to win. They can't just come away with a draw. So there's been a couple of occasions where they've sort of rushed it and went longer with that first pass. And like we've both said, it's going to be hard for, obviously, Nicholas Jackson, the big lad, but it's going to be hard for any of their forwards to win an aerial duel against a Norwegian centre-half. So for me, they need to keep doing what they're doing well, playing through the thirds and exploiting the pace and really utilise those deeper runners from midfield, and hopefully they might be able to carve out some clear-cut chances from it.
And one thing I've really noticed from Senegal, aside from the fact that I think a win in this game for Senegal is dependent on some kind of transition, catching the opponent off guard kind of goal. But one thing they have done very well is take Erling Haaland almost out of the equation. He has been a non-factor through the first 20-something minutes.
I totally agree. I spoke a lot there about both teams' sort of in-possession strategies and quality so far, but equally important is, like you say, how well Senegal have dealt with the threat of Erling Haaland. And that has come at the expense of some space in front of the back four. We saw that really good Martin Odegaard chance that he skied over the bar. But like you said, if you're playing against Norway, then half of the battle has to be dealing with Erling Haaland, and they've done it really well so far.
And I think especially with someone like Haaland, someone with such notoriety in the footballing world, taking him out of the game has to be both a confidence boost for Senegal and just a gut punch for Norway, because you got to think that this Norway team relies on that number 9 running out front.
Totally. They either have to find a way to make Erling Haaland free, and that would probably be by putting more players on the top line and giving the Senegalese back four a little bit more to deal with, or by saying, okay, if you're going to double up on Erling Haaland, how can we get another runner free? And play off the fact that Erling Haaland might be out of the game, but that might just create up the space to play into Nusa, to play into Ødegaard, to play into Alexander Sorloth, and they'll be able to create chances by taking Erling Haaland out of the game. They've got to manipulate the Senegalese defensive tactics.
And one thing Senegal is doing is just setting up that triangle of defenders right around Haaland in the center. Always seems he has one defender marking him, another one just right off on his hip pocket, ready to go if the ball gets anywhere near that fearsome number 9. Big cross, searching for Haaland, but it's too tall, and chested down into the safe arms of Edward Mendy.
What should give Norway hope, though, is that for Erling Haaland, this is a bit of a enormity here. It will go through matches for Manchester City, his club team, by only having 4 or 5 touches of the ball in a half. But he's got that poacher's instinct that he'll just wait, and then he'll spring alive when he needs to and come up with something important.
He's the kind of player that can change the score in an instant. Just needs the ball in his vicinity, and he's the kind of guy that can make it happen. Senegal certainly has players like that as Jackson gets the ball in a free space. Back to Mané. Numbers threatening for Senegal. Jackson, the shot, and it's over the net. He had some chances and open space there. Mané and Jackson playing a bit of a two-man game, but Norway's defense in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, as good as a little pop shot from Jackson. But similarly to the Martin Ødegaard chance before, he's always sort of stretching it. It doesn't look like that there's loads of confidence behind the strike. Yeah, he leans back slightly too much, but really good opportunity, though.
Of course, Senegal dropping their first game of the group stage against France. 2 goals from Kylian Mbappe in that one. So they certainly need more than 1 point to really make themselves competitive heading into the final match of Group I. Those will take place on Friday. Back to the midfield for Norway. It's been about split in possession. Not too much of a difference, and we have seen a very even match through the first half of the first half so far. Haaland in control. Norway looking to Ødegaard to produce through their midfield. And that's the one difference I see with Norway. I mean, maybe it's just the team that he's on as well, the captain armband for Ødegaard, but I don't know if Senegal has that same kind of dominance in the midfield like Norway does with a player like Martin Ødegaard, just who can completely take over the center of the park at any given moment.
Yeah, I totally agree. He had a bit of a tough season at Arsenal. He battled injuries, but he did start that Champions League final. And he's a player that on his day, he possesses tremendous vision and a really good technical intelligence of the game. So he can just get on the ball and manipulate and make things happen. And like we say, find that free man that might be available if Senegal are doubling up on Haaland.
And a free man for Senegal, but the pass just too tall from Sarr on the right wing. And it'll be a throw-in for Norway. One of the rare moments that we've seen somewhat of a careless slip-up for either side. Both teams have been technically sound through the first 30. It is still scoreless, about 30 minutes across this first half. A lot of passing in the center of the park, not too many chances for either side, and Erling Haaland without a single shot for the Norwegians. He's starting to get involved in Norway's press. Certainly not as intense as Senegal, but the pressure there as the Senegalese playing from their back line. Lofted through ball headed away by the Norwegian left back in Muller-Wolf, and Senegal gets the possession. Searching ball in, but Haaland is able to slide over it before it reaches its target in Sadio Mané, trying to get free on that left wing. Still scoreless, but the chances starting to get a little bit closer.
Yeah, I really love that idea from Lamine Camara for Senegal. He's just tried to stick it behind the back line of Norway, but it's one of those that he always wants to come back and fall in front of Nicholas Jackson, but he just wasn't able to get that backspin on. But really nice idea and a good opportunity for Senegal.
Jackson was kind of in between two Norwegian defenders, and you're right, he tried to just curl it around them, but it didn't spin enough. And by the time it got towards Mané, Haaland was there, as he is on this searching ball, looking for Jackson down the middle. It's good defense on the pass from Idrissa Gana Gueye. Now here comes Norway, going up with Sorloth from Atletico Madrid in 2025. Out of bounds.
Fantastic to see the Senegal supporters enjoying themselves as well. Spoken about the Norwegian fans, but brilliant. Like we said before, the World Cup's the only competition in the world that, I mean, maybe you could say that the Olympics is the only thing that comes close to bringing the entire world together to just celebrate sport and celebrate football like this. It's great to see.
And I feel like just the unity and the camaraderie is on a different level with the World Cup than it even is in the Olympics. Like, you'd expect it to be bigger since there's so much more going on in the Olympics, but with the love that the world has for soccer, it just seems like there's no friendlier event than the World Cup.
Yeah, totally.
And it also impresses me how so many people can make full outfits out of their country's flag.
Absolutely. That you'll know more about the climate over in the US than me, but I see some of these fully suited up supporters and think they must be absolutely roasting and boiling whatever they're wearing.
What they were showing those Senegal fans, and they had a guy who was just fully draped in what looked like a Senegal flag blanket, and Kofi, the hat, as well. I mean, that looked like it had to feel about 100 degrees, regardless of what the weather was outside.
Totally.
Probably comfortable, though.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the better suited supporters today. He's certainly looking dapper.
Oh, yeah. I'm just waiting to see more of those Viking helmets. You know, the flag eye paint is always my favorite.
Definitely. Yeah.
But we want to hear. Oh, sorry, Jamie.
I'm expecting to see sort of Viking horns full of beer coming up in the next.
Yeah. That'd be a great goal celebration. Like, imagine if Haaland rips off a goal, then takes off somebody's Viking helmet, chugs a beer out of it. That'd be epic.
That'd be brilliant.
I would donate a beer for that for sure, without question.
Absolutely, and I don't think I'd put it past Erling Haaland either. The type of character he seemingly is.
That definitely seems like it's up his alley. But we want to hear from you guys as well. If you want to be the top fan, you get a special prize at the end of the show, and our respect, which frankly I think is more important. But anyways, ask Giuseppe about that. He knows. But we just want to know what you guys love about the World Cup so far, what you guys have been enjoying, what you guys have been looking at. Make sure to smash that subscribe button. You can check out our socials below as well. We're at State of Soccer, SO Soccer TV on Instagram, State of Soccer on YouTube, and you can visit our website at www.stateofsoccertv.com. I know there is a lot more than just these watch-alongs going on State of Soccer TV. 35 minutes just about have gone by in this Group I matchup between Norway and Senegal. It is still scoreless, while France and Iraq locked up in a 3-0 lead, 2 from Mbappe, 1 from Dembele. Now Norway going up the line. Muller-Wolf from the left side. Back to Hegem. Over to Ayer. Up to the midfield. And now Odegaard sending it up the wing. Norway has been relying on that Odegaard and Sorloth connection on the right side. That has been their go-to spot when they try to move it up the wings. Now going to Muller-Wolf from the left back, sending it up to Nusa. But it gets away from Norway, back to Mendy, and Senegal will clear.
Yeah, I totally agree on the point of Martin Odegaard, and Alexander Sorloth being a real point of key offensive pressure for Norway. And Martin Odegaard excels in that right 10 position that he plays for Arsenal as well. It's sort of that right of a midfield three, but as one of the more advanced ones. He's much better playing there where he can operate in the half spaces than as a sole 10 where he's got to play on the pivot and get on the ball. But when he can come in onto that left foot and really dictate play, he's always a danger. And when you've got a player like Alexander Sorloth ahead of him as well, it always makes it just a little bit easier for him to conduct his business.
Sorloth, typically an out-and-out striker with his height, but obviously that spot taken up by Haaland. And I think they use him more on the wing. I mean, he can certainly play on the wing. I'm not trying to detract from his talents, but using him on the wing, I think having a strong winger like that can really help out Odegaard because you almost have like a blocker going up front with a guy as big as Sorloth is.
Yeah.
Ball sent in for Haaland now. Tips it away. Now there's a chance, but it's saved by Mendy.
Wow.
That was the closest thing we've had to a goal all day. It looks like we'll see a foul against Norway. Martin Odegaard again with a shot right in front of Ed Mendy. Good pass from Haaland. Odegaard wide open, but shoots it right underneath the left arm of Edward Mendy with the outside of his left foot.
Tremendous save. And the really interesting thing to note here as we watch the replays is that as the ball goes up into Haaland, again, you can see there's two defenders up his backside and they're marking him really tightly, which just leaves Alex Sorloth and Martin Odegaard both free to join the party from the edge of the box. That's what Norway have to keep working. It'll be worth using Haaland for that first knockdown and attracting that pressure on him, but then making sure that he's got runners around him so he can play on 1 and 2 touch and bring other players into the game, which is along goal scoring what he does best.
That ball scraped across the goal mouth by Senegal. Looked like Mané on the entry, but on the other side for the Senegalese. High shot from the midfield, and it clears the netting from Idrissa Sana Gueye. And we'll have a goal kick as Mané made a great chance across the goal mouth, but no one there on the other side for Senegal. Good deflection. The ball went back to Gueye in the midfield. And Norway takes a collective sigh of relief as a fan base as both teams having their best chance of the night within a matter of 3 minutes.
Yeah, this game really starting to open up now and become more of an enjoyable watch for the neutral.
I found for a lot of this World Cup that both any teams playing really just dials it up to 11 in the last 10 minutes before the end of each half.
Yeah.
I feel like we've seen the most goals in the World Cup within the 30 to 45 minute range. I'm completely guessing there, but that's just from what I've been watching lately. That's where it seems like so many of the goals end up coming in.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting observation in that it might be due to the heat of this tournament, especially for lesser Senegal, who you like to think that the players be more accustomed to more hotter environments, especially in tournament football as well with AFCON. But for Norway in particular, is that they have a really good chance now with Musa going into Haaland.
And Odegaard pokes it away from the defense, but Senegal's defense in control. Looks like Koulibaly, the captain, bringing it up and getting it away from the Norway midfield. And Norway had a different method of fighting the heat as a foul was called against Norway. Senegal quickly plays through. While the Norwegians were training, they trained with ice packs wrapped around their bodies, necks, and their torso as well.
Wow.
And they weren't the only World Cup team that did something like that.
Yeah, I think it's been really interesting to see how teams firstly utilize the heat and utilize their own sports science around that, but also how they utilize the hydration breaks. And I was just alluding to there, knowing how hot the tournament's going to be, it would make a lot of sense to sort of build your way through the quarters as essentially as we're playing 4 quarters in these World Cup matches, and really make sure you attack the end strong and don't burn yourself out in the opening stages of either quarter. And Norway are one of many teams, most notably, really the European teams, to do that to real good effect so far in this tournament.
Norway looks like they've been shot out of a cannon after the hydration break, getting some dangerous runs in, but not coming to anything. Both defense holding strong as we're scoreless in the 42nd minute. It is much closer to the end time in our other match in Philadelphia. 3-0 lead between France and Iraq, minus added time. There are 4 minutes in between France and another round of soccer. They are on the cusp of clinching. Here comes Mané with Senegal coming off the left wing, sending in a driven pass, knocked away, and Norway clears. Man down, but the ball squirts out to Odegaard. He's got 2 ahead of him, but Senegalese with the numbers back. Sorloth coming in from the right side. Chips one in, looking for Haaland, but it's batted away by Senegal's defensive midfield. Jackson putting in a serious run, but out comes the goalkeeper to clear it out for Norway, and they'll fight away from the Senegalese press. Dangerous from Neelan, but he clears it in the nick of time.
Yeah, it feels like this game's just going to get better and better as both teams open up. It's been really good to see.
And that one's taken away. Interception. Pedersen bounces off the keeper, and Norway strikes first. Oh, that's a bad mistake for the center backs of Senegal. A poor pass, and Holmgren Pedersen in the right place at the right time. Norway takes a step towards clinching with the first goal of the match.
Wow. We said that the substitution in the first half might derail Norway. Pedersen, it's done nothing of the sort. Really well taken finish. And like you say, it was sort of a goal of Senegal's own doing, wasn't it, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, Koulibaly just was careless on that pass and did not see Pedersen lurking right in front of his left back. And they're showing the replay again. Koulibaly makes a nice interception, but he just almost out of instinct tries to make a touch pass to Diouf, and Pedersen was right there. Ed Mendy did well to just get a glove on that shot, but there was no stopping that once the ball was intercepted by Holmgren Pedersen for his first World Cup goal.
Yeah, I totally agree. It looks like a lack of communication on all sorts there. I think Kalidou Koulibaly's aware of the fact that Erling Haaland's just creeping over his right shoulder and ready to apply physical pressure on him. So he's trying to release it first time into the midfield, but he just needs people around him talking him, telling him that he's got time to take the touch and take his time before releasing the ball. And like I say, really good from Holmgren Pedersen to be on the front line, super aggressive press from Norway, intercept it, and yeah, really good finish near post as well.
The press increasing now from Norway as Odegaard has some space. The Norwegians have numbers forward. Haaland looking for it, but out comes Mendy to scoop up the pass from Martin Odegaard.
That was a great opportunity. Just the wrong pass, I think, from Martin Odegaard. He's obviously looked for that reverse pass into Erling Haaland, but it had just seen the creeping Musa on his left, and that might have been the better option for him.
And good defense from Norway. That was Ayer who makes the tackle, but the second interception in a row keeps it for Senegal. Nicholas Jackson trying to make his moves in. Met by Norway's back line, holding firm. Poke back. Norway controls in the midfield. Kamara sends it backwards from the defensive backs. Koulibaly goes forward. Looking for Mané. Sadio Mané. The cross towards the net. Jackson can't get a foot on it. Now another cross in. Bouncer, but an easy save for Haaland. In the middle of the park, it was Sarr who just didn't get enough, kind of tops it over with his foot and makes for a soft bounce into the arms of Erling Haaland.
Yeah, it's a really easy technique there, but I'll talk about it when Ismaila Sarr, he sees the cross come in, and he's sort of thinking about the placement of the strike instead of just getting good contact. As that comes in, everyone that's played football is guilty of it. You're sort of trying to side volley it instead of just keeping your eyes on the ball. You know, if he gets a really strong standing leg, he gets the good connection, then he'll have a good strike up. And instead, he's thinking about where he wants to place the strike instead of just making that good connection.
Just a little bit, almost too much urgency we're seeing from Senegal, starting with that Koulibaly pass. I mean, a little touch pass to the fullback is the bread and butter of most clearances, but Senegal is just trying to force things before they can more easily happen.
Yeah. Great to see some of you in the comments. Peppy Hype Train, what's your favorite airline? Josh, do you have anything to add?
I mean, I am a card-carrying plane napper, so I really don't know much about airlines because as soon as I get on the plane, I'm asleep until we land. So I think Delta usually has pretty comfortable seats. I've been flying with them a decent bit. That seems too basic, though.
No, I've seen a lot about Delta over in the US, but we don't have it in Europe, though. I think probably an EasyJet is our equivalent. Peppy Hype Train likes Iceland Airlines, and Giuseppe D'Angelo loves 69 Airways. Chess historian saying that his stream's 30 seconds ahead, so I was wondering when we get to the goal.
We're doing the best we can, but we're playing a chess match of our own against the speed of internet. Big chance for Haaland. Oh, the front of the post.
Wow.
That looked like an easy sitter. Mendy just gave it up. Now a header from Haaland. Oh, how did he keep that out? Edward Mendy just pinned it against the post. Haaland got all of his head, and what a save by Mendy.
That's an unbelievable save because the head is incredible, by the way. Not only the accuracy, but the power as well. You can see as he jumps, this is sort of like a counter movement jump, as you say in sports science. He gets up to it, and while he's in the air, he manages to twist his upper body to direct that header into the ground, into the bottom corner. And wow, that's a phenomenal save from Mendy, who was spared his blushes by Haaland hitting the post a couple of seconds prior.
And that save is especially good considering right before that, Mendy got dispossessed, and quite frankly, it should be 2-0 right now.
Totally.
But the first half ends with a Norway 1-0 lead. Erling Braut Haaland held without a goal in the first half. Instead, Holmgren Pedersen gets a 43rd minute strike for Norway as they take a 1-0 lead in the first half. France has already clinched, so if this score holds, the Group I championship essentially will be at 3 o'clock on June 26. We'll talk a lot more about that when we come back, as we'll take a quick break for halftime here on State of Soccer. Plenty more to come, so stick around as we've got 45 minutes finished and 45 to go here on State of Soccer. 1-0 Norway, courtesy of, surprisingly, not Erling Haaland, Marcus Holmgren Pedersen in the 43rd minute. Josh Sperber, Jamie Lauder here on State of Soccer for another watch-along here in the World Cup. And we'll be doing a round of 32 game next week as well. So still more World Cup content coming from State of Soccer. And Jamie, thoughts on the first half as we have Norway getting the ball back to their goaltender to start off the second?
Yeah, I think the first half, naturally a little bit cagey, as you'd expect. Norway only really playing for a point, and Senegal with not loads to play for just yet. Obviously, a win's vital for them, don't get me wrong. But they'll still be going into the last match with confidence that if they get a heavy win against Iraq, they'll still be in contention of qualifying for the round of 32. However, this match is really important to them. So a little bit of a cagey start, but then as Senegal started going for a goal a little bit more, there was more space for Norway to play into and play off of Erling Haaland rather than through him. And they've done that really well. And listen, I'll be really surprised if Senegal aren't really direct, aren't forward thinking, and aren't gung-ho really in search for goal in the second half. So I think it'll be a really enjoyable watch, Josh.
They're going to have to be. Senegal needs a point to stay in it. If this score holds, Norway and France will advance in Group I. The order of which they advance in will be determined when they face off this coming Friday at 3. One substitution for Norway in the midfield. Off comes Frederick Arsnes. On comes Patrick Berg. Senegal brings the exact same lineup they had to end and start the first half to begin the second. And Jamie, if you were Senegal's coach here, would you have made any subs? Hold on. Haaland puts one in for Norway.
Wow.
That came out of almost nowhere. Norway on the counterattacks, little through pass into Erling Haaland, and he picks up another goal. Norway takes a 2-0 lead, and Haaland with another World Cup goal from Manchester City's number 9. 2-0 Norway.
That's what we said, isn't it, Josh? Norway will have space to play into and space to transition into because Senegal have got to try and go all-out attack to get something from this match. And the downside when you play against a team with Norway's strength across the board is that usually when you try and go a little bit more gung-ho, they'll have really good aerial defenders. And then if they win the second ball, you've got players like Solaf, you've got players like Martin Odegaard, who does so well in the build-up there. And, I mean, Erling Haaland's quality speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Absolutely perfect pass. And even though Mendy got a fingertip on that, no chance with that kind of power behind the Haaland shot. His third goal of the World Cup. And now Norway with a commanding lead. Now, this doesn't officially eliminate Senegal, but it's certainly a dagger in their hearts.
Yeah, totally. That finish is incredible by Erling Haaland. As you watch the tight shot replay, you can see the ball just bubbles in front of him. So he can't strike with his laces. So he has to. It's a really similar striking technique to that of Martin Odegaard's half chance in the first half, where he attacks the ball with his side foot. But the difference is that Erling Haaland doesn't lean back quite as much, and obviously he gets so much power on the strike. He generates so much power early that he can strike that with his side foot, and it just goes sailing past Edouard Mendy in the Senegal goal.
If there's anyone who's going to capitalize on even the slimmest of goal chances, it's Erling Haaland.
Totally.
Haaland coming back to try and get that ball from Senegal, who will send it the other way. About 50 minutes gone by in the first half with a 2-0 Norway lead as Norwegian defense will clear it through Neeland, their goalkeeper. And how does that second goal change the strategy for Senegal, do you think, this early in the second half?
I think it might encourage them to make changes earlier. I think it'll definitely encourage them to be more direct earlier. But this is the thing, you can see right now Norway are setting up really in what looks like a deep sort of 4-4-5-1 almost, with Haaland isolated at the top end of the pitch. Can't just put crosses in earlier and put long balls in early, because Norway can deal with it, and I think that's what makes them really strong. And they'll be a really difficult team to play against as this tournament progresses. They defend so well as a unit, and then because their individual quality going forward, you can't go all out attack, because if you leave Erling Haaland 1v1, if you leave him even 1v2 on the top line, then you might always throw in the chances.
And a chance for Senegal there. Header from Nicholas Jackson, but right on the hip of Erling Haaland. Just a little flop over to his right side, and he makes the save off the header. That was the first time we've seen any semblance of aerial success from Senegal against this forest of defenders in Norway.
Yeah, and you can see why as well. Really intelligent. I don't know whether that's coach driven or just intelligent play from Nicholas Jackson, but as the ball progresses wide and he's starting to do it again, he peeled off to Peterson, the right back, who's obviously not as aerially gifted as the two centre halves. So just by peeling off to the fullback, it makes it an easier target for him to get hit and then obviously get up and win the header.
Now Senegal dominating possession. Possession was pretty much 50-50 in the first half, but Norway really just pressing and counterattacking, and Senegal needing to control a lot more possession. Haaland sends the pass forward, taken away by the Senegalese. And now they'll start a run back with their keeper in Ed Mendy. Through the defense. Big long ball forward. Flag staying down. Passing into the midfield. Gay sends it in. Trickling forward.
Ooh.
Now a shot, and there's a tackle that knocked down the striker. If that counts, it is Sarr who scores. And that's going to make it 2-1.
Wow. That isn't your conventional Senegal goal either. It came through central combinations on the top line. Let's watch it again. It's a really good switch to find Sadio Mané, who looks to open the pitch up on the inside. And that's what Senegal can gain by starting their attacks a little bit deeper and going longer with that first ball, but wide. And that's an incredible pass from, I believe it might be Nicholas Jackson, who's played in Ismaila Sarr there. And that's a really good ball and a really well taken finish as well, isn't it?
And I thought for a second that it would be an own goal coming off the tackle from Norway, but the replay shows that is all Ismaila Sarr just diving, almost pulled to the ground, and he's still able to lift it over the goalkeeper for Senegal's first strike of the match. And looks like we're going to have a substitution for the Senegalese as they will bring in a midfielder, Ibrahim Mbaye, coming on for Senegal, and he will replace Pape Gueye.
It'll be interesting to see if that's a change of shape there from Senegal, which might just give them a little bit more of an advantage going forward, because it'll be tough for them now because, like we both said, Senegal's main attacking outlet is their pace on the front line. And Nicholas Jackson, Sadio Mané, Ismaila Sarr, they're all pacey players that look to receive in behind. When you're up against a Norway team that are happy to sit behind the ball and say, you know what, we're not surrendering any space in behind, come at us, then your game plan has to totally change. You've got to be a little bit more composed in how you deal with the ball in front of the mid to low block that Norway are playing at the moment. And if those chances give them a little bit more of a numerical advantage in central areas, like we saw in the goal, then that might be their outlet to create more goal scoring opportunities.
The classic battle of speed versus strength. Indeed. Not to say that Norway is lacking speed, because they certainly have some. But again, as we've talked about for much of the match, Norway gets by with their strength, with their height, their physicality. And the strongest tool in Senegal's arsenal is their speed up and down the pitch. They've got a shot from the center, and Kamara lofts it over the net.
Yeah, that's exactly what we just talked about. A chance where there's no space to play into and behind, so the space is on the edge of the box, but he's got to be more composed there and really test the goalkeeper or try and have his shot blocked out for a corner.
Goal kick for Nyland and Norway. 2-1 their lead in the 56th minute. That one sent in towards the middle. Going to try and pull it out of the midfield. Norwegians in the midfield. Sent in. Right on the end line for Berge. Now going up top. Playing through the defense. Holmgren Pedersen. The goal already today for Norway. Sends it backward. Norway playing through their back line. Trying to dodge the press from Senegal. Searching ball forward. Finds its way into the attack. Sorloth brings it towards the middle. Ooh. Gives it to Berg. Sends it forward. There's an opening for Norway. Pass sent in towards the center. Haaland flicks it away. Senegal's defense clears it. Oh, Haaland gets it back, and he scores off the top of the bar. Erling Braut Haaland makes it 3-1 Norway, going bar down on a pinballing ball around. What an incredible play. And we are truly seeing some star power in the World Cup today. A brace from Lionel Messi, a brace from Kylian Mbappe, and now a brace from Erling Haaland, the past, present, and future of goal scoring in world football has been proudly on display today.
Wow, there's so much good to talk about in this goal. Firstly, the out-to-in movement from Pedersen. He's really impressed me since coming on the pitch today. His ball's fantastic as well. Then that first touch from Martin Ødegaard. That's an incredible first touch. It's not. It's Sander Berg actually. The substitute for Norway's came on, not Martin Ødegaard. Apologies. His first touch is super composed. He rolls it with the sole of his boot, and then Erling Haaland. That's an incredible finish. Obviously, the left-footed striker, he just adjusts his feet, and it's another side-footed finish.
With his right foot, no less. I mean, unbelievable goal from Haaland. And you talked about Holmgren Pedersen. Berg got the assist on that play. So how about these substitutes for Norway?
Yeah.
A goal and an assist off the bench in the World Cup. That's something else.
Totally. I think that's a really good collective goal from Norway, and it just goes to show. See, Erling Haaland and Martin Ødegaard are the standout names in this team, and Alexander Sorloth as well. But they're a really good, well-functioning unit that will cause any side problems at this World Cup. I'm convinced.
And Ed Mendy getting looked at by the Senegal trainers. Certainly hope he's all right. And he's had a very busy day in between the pipes for Senegal.
Yeah. If you're a goalkeeper, you always know it's going to be a tough day lined up for you when you're facing that man, Erling Haaland. But I've got to say he's done well on the whole. He had that one standout save in the first half. But, a couple, didn't he? He had the 1v1 save and then the one from Erling Haaland's header. But ultimately, if you, as a defensive unit, allow Erling Haaland an unopposed strike in the middle of the 6-yard box, I love it. I don't know if you've just seen, Josh, that referee view. See, after the first chance, doesn't quite fall his way. His head's in his hands, but straight away the ball progresses out wide to Patrick Berg. Yeah. The cross comes in, and that's what a good centre forward does. He's alive, and he looks so composed to tuck away the second chance. That's phenomenal from Haaland.
Second brace of the World Cup for Erling Haaland, and that brings up an interesting question posed by our good friend Giuseppe D'Angelo. Now, at the beginning of this tournament, I don't think we would have found too many people that aren't currently living in the state of Norway or Senegal or even Iraq that thought that a team other than France was going to top Group I coming out of the group stages. But do the first two matches you have seen from Norway change your perception of France being the favorites to top this group? Because for me, it is not going to be that simple for France.
No, I totally agree with the second comment from Giuseppe. Norway, France will be insane. I think it'll be a really interesting encounter from those two sides where, like you say, France are the more traditionalists from a football sense. They play free-flowing football. They've got loads of pace. They've got loads of talent. But Norway are going to be so hard to beat. And they remind me a little bit of the World Cup winning, the European Championship winning Danish side of 1992, where they're a gritty team. You can tell they're a together group, and they're going to make it super hard to play against. And even if they don't top the group, I would really bank on them, like you said earlier, Josh, to be the dark horses to go far in this tournament. And I totally agree with the most recent comment. Josh is the GOAT.
That guy's definitely not related to me, so we don't need to worry about that. Ed Mendy looks like he's being taken off by the Senegalese training staff, and that is never something we like to see. Hopefully, he will be healed in good time. And I don't think the goalie substitution is going to be the only one. Looks like there's another outfield player standing by the substitution mark for Senegal. So Ed Mendy will be replaced by Maury Diaw, 33-year-old, 6'6" goalkeeper, and the first goalie not named Ed Mendy entering the match for Senegal. Meanwhile, Kamara will also be replaced in the Senegalese midfield. So Lamine Kamara replaced by Pathé Ciss for Senegal. So Ciss in for Kamara, Diaw in for Mendy. And I think changing the goalkeeper is a lot bigger blow towards this Senegal team.
Yeah, it definitely looks that way on paper, but I'm really excited to see this. I watch a lot of Ligue 1 football, and Maury Diaw is a fantastic goalkeeper. He started pretty much every match last year for Le Havre, who are a team that were recently promoted in Ligue 1, but managed to get Champions League football. They came fourth in the French top division last year, and he was phenomenal all season. So that this might be, obviously, I'm not going to wish any ill harm upon Edouard Mendy, but this could be a good opportunity for him to show what he's about on the world stage to a much greater audience, and obviously loads of pressure on his shoulders to represent his country in a big match like this.
And it certainly is, but Edouard Mendy has been in between the pipes for almost a half decade for Senegal.
Yeah.
And I feel like just seeing your goaltender leave the match early just is another gut punch. And Senegal has just been taking punch after punch in the midsection from Norway today.
Yeah, totally. That's a big part of it as well, isn't it? The players feel the weight of a player that they've put their trust in, a player that's won AFCON with them over the last few years. Now going off it injured, it will have a psychological effect on the players for sure. I agree.
So that's 4 subs off for Senegal. Norway has just made the 2, 1 in each half. And frankly, both of Norway's substitutes have made huge impacts on this game. As we mentioned, Berg got the assist on the last Haaland goal, and Holmgren Pedersen, who was subbed in the first half for Norway, scored their first goal of the match. So maybe Senegal will get some impact from one of their 4 substitutes as the cross in is deflected away by Norway's defense.
I think it's interesting, like the World Cup or international tournaments in general, whether that be the Gold Cup or the European Championship, African Cup America. You'll see these unknown players or seemingly unknown players stand out and get themselves moves just off the back of a good tournament in this environment. So the likes of Peterson and Berg, who are applying their trade in lesser divisions or for lesser teams at the moment, this could be an opportunity for them to earn themselves a massive move if they do well consistently on the world's biggest stage.
I mean, my favorite examples being someone who was kind of a late bloomer in terms of following soccer. I studied abroad in Madrid right before the 2014 World Cup. And I still remember that all the commentators were talking about Keylor Navas and James Rodriguez as relatively unknown names. And they were signed by Real Madrid strictly based on their World Cup performance, with at least
Yeah,
one of those deals, I think, happening while the World Cup was still technically being played. So you're absolutely right. I mean, this is a huge part of club soccer as well, even if most club seasons are not currently being played.
yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, that they are two brilliant examples. I agree, Josh, of players that have made a big impact in the World Cup and then gone on to reap the rewards individually off the back of it.
So we want to open this question up to the comments as well. What players so far, I know we're only halfway through the group stage here, but are there any players that you guys have seen from this World Cup that you think are going to get one of those big moves? Might not necessarily be a Galactico size move, but there are certainly going to be players already that have impressed scouts enough to earn a transfer somewhere. So let us know in the comments what you think. Jamie, I don't know if any names come to mind for you. I know some of the Cape Verde defenders might be going places after these first couple of games.
Totally. I think Cape Verde as a collective have been phenomenal. Uh, for me, I think I've really enjoyed watching some of the outside names in the Spanish team play. So Spain are really good. Like Lamine Yamal is one of the big examples of before Euro 24. Obviously, he was internationally known for doing what he was doing for Barcelona, which wasn't a whole lot, but he was playing week in, week out at the age of 16 for La Liga. But Barcelona have this tendency to sort of trust their younger players on the world stage. And I know it's sort of diverted from the question a little bit, but I really enjoy watching Barcelona every international tournament and seeing what sort of 18, 19-year-olds that they've got included in the squad that will go on to be fantastic players in the years to come. One of which, again, I digress. I was watching a documentary about Juan Mata the other day, who made his debut really for Spain. His first couple of games were in the World Cup of 2010
Yeah.
when they won it. And it just goes to show that, like you say, it might not be players earning a move from good World Cup performances, but it might just be as a result of performing on the biggest stage that they forge themselves an international career and an international reputation.
Might be some Norwegian players getting some big money. I know Erling Haaland has been the focal point of transfer rumors for big clubs like Real Madrid. I'm sure that surprises everybody here, though. But I don't know if they'll be able to afford him. Even his value's going up this World Cup. But Giuseppe making another good point. Florian Balogun was certainly someone on that list for me. I know Kyle Larin was the guy that I was going to say, but I'm a little bit biased towards Kyle Larin from my days working in the MLS.
Yeah.
But Balogun, I think, I mean, that own goal was, you can give him an assist on that own goal that United States got in their last match. And then obviously the brace he had, couple of really well worked goals in America's first game as we've reached a hydration break in Norway's 3-1 lead over Senegal.
Yeah, Florian Balogun, a great example of a player, obviously born over in the US, but one that came through the English academy system and was able to test himself. And he went to a foreign country, went to France, and did really well at Hans and earned to move to Monaco. And it's as simple as that, really, for young players that are coming through, that if they push themselves out of their comfort zone and they're willing to leave their parent club to get more minutes in senior football, his goals speak for themselves.
Well, for the American fans, since Kylian Mbappe got his start at Monaco, is Florian Balogun the next Kylian Mbappe?
Big statement, but US fans.
I'm only sort of curious there. Don't worry. No, Balogun's had an incredible tournament. I think that's a bit of a stretch of a comparison, but I mean, the talent that Monaco produces and just continue. I mean, Mbappe is certainly not the only one you can say, started at Monaco and came out to be a star. But I mean, a lot of talent coming from that area of France.
Giuseppe's saying, Josh, you go in the championship next season in the booth. Maybe in Millwall. Would you fancy a trip to the Den?
Hey, I'll take if there's a soccer booth open for me, I will be there. So if you know anyone at Millwall, Giuseppe, please refer them to my YouTube account.
Nice club, Millwall.
Always competing to get promoted, I feel like. They're always in the hunt.
Yeah, totally.
Back in play now. Another substitution made for both sides. Nusa will be replaced by Andres Schleuderup. Forgive me if I messed up that pronunciation. And right. Senegal, I believe, made a couple of changes on defense as well, with Diouf coming in or exiting for Jacobs on the left back side, and Sarr coming in the center. So I believe now Senegal is out of substitutions as they have made 5. Norway still would have 2 left to go. About 15 minutes remaining, a little bit more than that. Norway in a comfortable lead. And this really looks like, unless something absolutely miraculous happens, Jamie, this sets up what my prediction really was, a winner-take-all game 3 of this group stage between France and Norway. They have proven themselves the 2 strongest team in this group. And they're just about even in terms of goals and goal differential and all that in this World Cup.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's interesting watching Norway now. Obviously, a little bit cautious in their play, but like we said, they can switch up what they need to do. They've created chances off the back of their high pressing. The Haaland one that hit the post, and obviously, notably, the Peterson goal. Was aggressive pressing and counter pressing, but also they can sit with 11 men behind the ball and be comfortable as well. They don't need to chase the ball. They're inviting Senegal to put in those early crosses and long balls from deeper areas, and they're confident to say, you know what, we'll deal with that and then deal with the second ball as well. So I think Norway are a very well-oiled machine, and I've been really impressed with what I've seen from them this match.
I mean, they looked like, against Iraq in this game, looked two different games to me. I think against Iraq, Norway just straight up overpowered a weaker team. Like, it just did not seem like Iraq was up to that challenge. But this game has been a really good, pretty well-played match, and it's just been, other than that one goal that, frankly, prevented Haaland from his hat trick, it's been a fairly even matchup between these 2 teams. Just Norway has capitalized on almost every single one of the chances that they've gotten.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. And I think you probably say that Norway deserved to be leading out on the face things of Edouard Mendy when he was on the pitch. making a couple of really vital stops. But like you say, it has been an even match on the whole. But Norway being more clinical when they have got the chances to go forward and being more clinical in and around the box. And that's just not just taking away their chances, but that final pass and that decision making when you're in and around the box. Senegal did really well with their goal, but past that, they haven't really created a superb opening. Just a mirage of half chances that Norway have done better with when they've been going forward.
That's why Norway's got the 3-1 lead, 75 minutes through, 2-goal lead for Norway. And if we take a look at the live standings of Group I, goal differential is even. Norway, though, with one more goal for, currently has the lead, but it will come down to that last game on Friday. I believe France will need a win to secure the group lead. Norway will just need a draw if these standings hold. And that's certainly a surprise. Not Norway versus France for the group, but the simple fact that it's France who's probably going to have that little bit of extra pressure coming into Friday's game, because it's Norway who technically tops the group right now due to the tiebreakers.
Yeah, I think particularly with the amount of third place teams that will qualify for the round of 32 in the World Cup, being the team that comes top is vital. So France won't just roll over and be happy to qualify in second. I think that last match in this group will be a really intense showdown.
And I know the only team as of right now that can really just sit back and relax in that second game is the United States. Already clinched their group. The undoubtedly best start that USA has ever seen in a World Cup. And that's always something we like to see here on State of Soccer.
Totally. Well, why do you think that's been, Josh? But would you say it's solely down to Mauricio Pochettino's impact, or the fact that it's a home World Cup? What would you say that the key reasonings behind the USMNT's good start to this World Cup?
I think those are definitely two big factors. His tactics have just suited this United States team so well. It being a home World Cup just kind of scratches the surface, though, because it's really brought more soccer fans out of the U.S. just from hiding out of the woodworks. Like, there's so many more people that seem invested in this World Cup, and it's just brought out in a lot of ways we've talked about, and we don't want to talk about the political stuff surrounding this World Cup, but with everything in that context, it's brought the best out of America in a lot of ways. And I think that has certainly helped. But, I mean, you also just have to look at the roster, and the United States, especially in terms of their attacking players, is the deepest that they've ever been. There are just so many goal scorers, Florian Balogun being a huge example of players who just – not like he wasn't at the last World Cup, but he certainly wasn't in the kind of form he is here in 2026. So it's just everything seems to be dialed up to another level. They're really taking the fact that this game is at home, this tournament is at home, to heart. And they finally have that number 9 striker they've been looking for. And what's most impressive is Christian Pulisic hasn't played. And he is the best player at this point, I think, to have ever put on a U.S. soccer jersey. And the fact that they made 2 dominating wins without him is supremely impressive. So, I mean, it's hard really to say who should get credit, because it's a total team effort. It's just been all around great soccer from the United States.
Totally. It's good to see, isn't it? I think, obviously, being from the UK, it's hard to say with total clarity, but you never know. You see it in different sports in different countries having a real good run in a tournament like this, it can grow the sport exponentially over the next sort of 4 or 5 years with younger and older fans that are watching. That this might be the first time they've ever watched a soccer match in the US.
And I
Whether
think
that's in person or on TV.
as the shot from Senegal goes well over the top of the net, I think a big example to that, at least for Americans in my generation, was the 1999 Women's World Cup. That win for the US, I can still close my eyes and picture most of that PK shootout. And, seeing the United States win the whole thing, then seeing it again in 2018, 2019, whenever the women won the last time, like it's it on every level, it's inspiring. And especially now, knowing that the US women have been exponentially above the US men really since 1999, when the US's eyes were taped open to soccer. Just seeing how the game has grown in between the 22 and this World Cup has been really cool to see for the United States, because it's not just, okay, big soccer tournament here. Yay, there's a lot of tourism coming. United States is very invested in this World Cup. And after those first two games, they rightfully think that they've got a shot to contend.
Yeah, for sure. I think we've had something similar in England when the England women's national team, the Lionesses, won the women's Euros a couple of years ago. I want to say in 2022 or 2023. It was massive for the growth of women's and girls football in the country, and it'd be great to see something similar happen to men's football over in the US.
Shot from Holmgren, saved by Senegal, and the goal kick punted over the timeline. And now, you look at the club level, that the same success, I don't think it's translated for the US men in the MLS as compared to the WSL in England. But you look at the WSL, that's one of the biggest for women pro soccer leagues on the planet.
Yeah, sure. I think it's always going to be hard for the MLS to contend. Like similarly, like we said earlier with the Saudi Pro League as an example, these non-European leagues are always going to be sort of the back markers when it comes to where players want to play their football, and that's just a fact, really. But in terms of the money that European clubs are able to spend as a result of different things in foreign leagues, such as salary caps and just the general support for the game, I think European club football is always going to be on top, or at least that's the way it looks foreseeable. But if the US and other nations with a similar sort of uprise can start producing a pathway that players are able to come through, and me and you did a lot of work on the 17 World Cup that the US competed in. If that pathway can start getting put into place, then it's only going to be a positive thing for soccer in the country over the next 5 or 6 years.
And you can already see the growth with women's soccer, because in the kind of early days of the NWSL, I'd already put a lot of that talent, in least terms of women's soccer. You pick the best couple of teams from the NWSL, and I think they can probably contend with the best one or two teams in the WSL, in La Liga Moeve, maybe any of the other European teams. At least for women's soccer, the U.S. League is up there, partly because of the prowess that United States women have had on the world stage. And a World Cup like this, if the United States can follow through on the belief that everyone is getting in them now and win this World Cup, then we might have MLS start getting into the conversation with some of the other top European leagues. But I think it's just the winning of a World Cup can do so much for a nation soccer-wise.
Totally. And even if they don't win, to have a real deep run in the tournament where everyone can get behind, and just to have American households watching a World Cup quarterfinal or a semi-final go a long way towards having the sport more socially accepted, I would say, obviously, as a Brit more than anything else in the United States of America.
Because I still remember the 2018 disaster of a World Cup miss for the United States. I mean, that was, the start of the Christian Pulisic hype when this generation of U.S. soccer was really, an up and coming group. A lot of them, expected them to qualify for that 2018 World Cup. I remember being at a bar, not being able to find that game anywhere on television. And I was at a sports bar where, I knew the bartenders at the college that I used to go to. And, they've got all the channels, but zilch, nothing. That was 8 years ago. Look at now, and it is, you got to pay for it, but it's pretty easy to get soccer on your TV in the United States these days. And not just MLS soccer, international soccer, European soccer, everywhere.
Which is only a good thing, it's how you get the younger generation hooked on it, really. And that I know for me, I got hooked on football by sitting and watching games at home with my mum, and that's the way it is by having, and it's any sport or anything, whether it's, Marvel movies or Harry Potter, for example, by having it around you from a young age and being able to sit and watch and enjoy, you develop that love for it. And it's the same with any sport, like I say. So by having the more football coverage over in the US, it'll be a massive positive for the young generation coming through.
No, that's definitely true about Marvel movies. I watched those all the time when I was younger, and I am darn sure hooked. I'll tell you that one.
Looking forward to Doomsday.
Oh, I can't wait. We could do a whole other watch along on that one, my friend. Jeez, that's going to be a great one. Oscar Bob now in at the wing for Norway. Should be the final substitution as Bob replaces Sorloth, who really had a great match. It might not show up on the stat sheet, but Alexander Sorloth was excellent in that right wing spot for the first 80-plus minutes.
Yeah, totally agree. His ability to lose his markers and either create space for Erling Haaland through good movement or good movement himself when he recognised Erling Haaland was being marked. Definitely an outlet going forward for Norway.
And Norway able to open up for Erling Haaland a lot more in this second half with his 2 goals. That was one of the adjustments they made, as he almost had a shot attempt. Well, he did have a shot attempt, but it was blocked at the last second. Do you think Haaland gets a hat trick in these final 5 minutes, including the added time?
I think he'll be desperate for one. I'm surprised that they haven't brought him off, to be honest. With the match sort of nearing a conclusion and Norway having a massive match coming up against France at the end of the week, I'm surprised that they've persisted him out on the pitch. But the sort of character he is, he'll be desperate to get that third. But you never know. It depends how aggressive Senegal are ultimately. I think in possession, if they really go all out attack it and start playing direct, then there'll be more space for Haaland to capitalise on behind. If not, then I think the chances will dry up.
And also Martin Odegaard still in the game for Norway. Another surprise, considering he's probably run more than just about anybody in this game. He's been all over the pitch tonight.
Totally a fantastic performance from the Arsenal captain.
Now Norway coming in from that left side. Odegaard stirring the drink again. Ball brought in, lob towards Haaland. It's knocked away. High shot, and it's deflected. Bob on the attempt. It'll be a corner kick for Norway.
Superb from the man we were just talking about, Martin Odegaard. He gets through that tight area so well. He brushes off 3 players and then dinks over the outstretched hand of the Senegalese goalkeeper. And Oscar Bob gets a good strike on it, but it's going to be hard for him to break down that wall of 4 or 5 Senegalese players and the goalkeeper in the way. But Martin Odegaard, that's superb, by the way.
I don't know how he got through those 2 people. I mean, he just turned into Mr. Fantastic, if we're still talking about Doomsday over there, just shrinking in between those 2 guys to somehow squeeze through. 5th corner kick of the game for Norway, and it'll be Odegaard on the in-swinger. Haaland will undoubtedly be the target. He is on the top of the box, running in. High pass. He gets the head on it, but it's too tall. And it wasn't Haaland who got the head on it. It was Østigård, another late substitution for Norway.
Yeah, he perhaps should do better there. Brilliant ball in from Martin Ødegaard, who looks like he carries the weight of being captain of his country really well. And he's back to the Martin Ødegaard who was shining for Arsenal 2 or 3 years ago before having a couple of injury troubles.
Yeah, and I think if that's on anyone, that's on Østigård. But just with 3 defenders around you, even though Ødegaard laid it about as perfectly up for him as he possibly could, it's not an easy header from the center of that box, surrounded by half of Senegal's back line. But Norway keeping their foot on the gas. There will be 9 minutes of added time to this game, but for some time it has seemed all but over, and it looks like it's going to set up a clash, win or take all, for Group I coming up on Friday.
Totally, that'll be one to definitely not miss. I'll have to see what time it is over in the UK.
That I can't help you with. I know it's 3 o'clock here, and I should have time to watch it work as long as no one tells my boss.
It's 10 to 3 a.m. over here for me.
Well, that's 3 p.m. in Eastern time over here. So now we know we're not all that far off.
No.
That's headed away. Senegal pressuring. Long shot, deflected. It bounces off a Nyland, who makes it diving stave, but it's still not clear. Senegal pushing the attack in towards the center. Now towards the left side. Back for Senegal. Going in towards the midfield. It's Jacobs with the cross. Almost headed away. And Senegal's got an opening, and they score. Ismaila Sarr coming in from the midfield. A lot of great passing in that sequence, and Senegal's not done yet.
Yeah, total lapse of concentration defensively from Norway, and Ismaila Sarr in the box doing what he did really well for the first goal as well. Let's have a watch of the replay. It's just poor. It's Peterson who's been so good offensively, loses his man, and that's it. It's really important for Norway that when they win the second ball so often, they've got to be alive and organised to win the second as well. So especially against France is the big example on Friday. They'll be under the cosh at times in that match, and they can't just deal with the first ball. It's got to be the second ball and then the third ball, and then being switched on for the several phases of the attack. And Senegal might feel with 6 minutes to go here that they have a real chance to get something from this match.
And they could still steal a point. 6 minutes left, as Jamie said, but Senegal certainly playing the spoiler. The score as of now has them eliminated, but with the goal differential going down by 1 for Norway, France now has a slim lead over Norway in Group I based on the tiebreak.
And it's important to mention as well for Senegal that the goal difference is equally as important. Obviously, if they beat Iraq in the last game of this group stage, then they might still have a real outside chance to qualify as one of the best third place teams, and that all depends on the goal difference.
They'll need a lot of goals in that one, though. A 3-1 loss against France. Their goal differential is at -3, currently trailing 3-2 against the Norwegians.
Yeah.
And I think I'm pretty bad at math, but I think it's going to be pretty difficult for any third place team to qualify with a negative goal differential.
Yeah, totally.
GD at 4 for Norway, 5 for France, -3 for Senegal, and Iraq at -6. So Iraq is effectively eliminated.
Yeah.
We'll need a goal fest, I think, from either team to get a third Group I team in the knockout round. But what we can say for sure is that France and Norway are almost certainly through. So Senegal is putting in their best foot forward to try and tie this up as Sadio Mané forces a corner that it looks like he himself will take.
Yeah, Martin Peterson going down with cramp in it. It seems like Norway will be playing every trick in the book in these last 4 minutes. And you never know, that there might just be one more chance in this for Senegal.
Oh, I think they've got a shot. Soccer is one of those sports, or football, since I'm with you here, Jamie. Football is one of those sports that no matter what, both teams are always in there if you're within a goal or two of each other.
Yeah.
I think my favorite example of that was the Belgium-Japan match from the 2018 World Cup, which was one of the craziest and best soccer matches I've ever seen.
I totally agree. That they say it's a saying over here that a 2-0 is the most dangerous score in football if you're winning the match 2-0. Because all it takes is a goal to start swinging the momentum. And I mean, you can see Norway well aware of that. They're going down, and arguably, we'll watch the replay. I don't want to call anyone out, but arguably exaggerating every injury and slight bit of cramp here just to keep the clock ticking over the 99th minute mark.
And I think one of the referees actually cautioned Norway about it because, injuries may be happening, but it's taken longer than a minute for these Norway players to get up each time they get hurt. Though on that play in question, Østegård definitely had his head collide with Cease in the midfield for Senegal. So there was definitely some contact, but I think the ref was just telling Ødegaard and the Norwegian team to just make sure for everyone to get up a little bit quicker.
Yeah, totally.
So 2 minutes to go, might be a little bit more with the injury time pauses in added time here. Still 3-2 Norway, but Senegal is having a furious fight to the finish as they just draw a foul right below the midfield line. And I love what I'm seeing. Norway is certainly not parked the bus. They haven't taken themselves out of this game, just resting on their 3-goal laurels. And Senegal is keeping their foot on the gas as well.
Yeah, Senegal really need to start working to have less men on the top line and more runners dropping in. If you look at this picture now, they have 5 players on the top line and no one really dropping into the pocket.
And
that's a really good reception.
Jackson is not doing enough in the middle as that shot is blocked away coming from the left wing for Senegal. It was Jacobs, the shooter, who seems almost more aggressive, Jacobs, the left back, than Jackson does in terms of trying to make those runs in from the midfield.
Absolutely. You look at the picture, anytime the ball progresses wide or even deep, all of Senegal's attackers are on the top line waiting and expecting for a cross or a long ball into the box, and you just can't do that against Norway.
And it'll be another corner for Senegal. I believe they're third of the game. Set pieces have been to a relative minimum after the 3 corner kick flourish in the first 4 minutes of the opening half from Norway. Header sails over the net from Senegal. Good defensive coverage in the center of the 6-yard box from the Norwegians.
Yeah, that's a big chance as well. Just look at the replay. It forces Ismaila Sarr, and it's a generally uncontested header there in the middle of the 6-yard box. That if he just heads down into the ground, he's giving the goalkeeper something to do, but gets under it a little bit, and it's always rising above the bar.
I think it might have brushed off the hair of Haaland, but certainly not enough to change the direction of the ball. That was about as clean of a header as you're going to get at this stage in the game. But that will be the last action, and Norway has clinched its spot in the knockout round, although I actually think game is still going on There's going to be one more chance for Senegal. I thought they were stopping. Senegal is going to send one last ball in. That's cleared away by the Norway defense. I don't think they'll have another shot, and they will not.
No.
And that is how the cookie crumbles in Group I. The winner of the group still to be decided, but the two teams who advance assuredly are Norway and France. And Norway with a 3-2 win over Senegal. Jamie, that was an excellent, excellent match from top to bottom.
Totally. I totally agree, Josh. I think Senegal were a little bit unfortunate to lose the match, but on the surface of things, Norway were probably the better team, and a team that after watching them there, I'm really excited to see how they do in the rest of the competition. They're not perfect, don't get me wrong. They've got to brush up a little bit on their defensive organisation, but they've got really talented players and a really good tactical system that I'm really looking forward to seeing again. What were your thoughts, Josh?
And this is Norway's fourth World Cup appearance as a country, the third time that they will reach the round of 16. Do you think they get their first round of 16 victory since 1938?
Yeah, I think it totally depends on who they have, which is a diplomatic answer. But for me, I think Norway will totally thrive against a team that's expected to do well. And I say that before seeing how they do against France. France could blow them off the park, but I think Norway are a team that will suit a side that have to try and not have to get a result, because every team needs to get a result in the round of 32. But one of the bigger nations that perhaps feels the pressure a little bit more, where they can sit in, make themselves really compact, but be dangerous on the counter-attack. Sort of like Denmark have been over the last couple of years. I think that'll be Norway's calling.
Well, Erling Haaland, again, another brace. And you look at some of the biggest stars of these World Cups today, 6 combined goals, 2 from Messi in Argentina's win, 2 from Mbappe in France's win, and now 2 from Erling Haaland in Norway's win. Still another game to go tonight, but with arguably the 3 biggest stars of this World Cup, they certainly delivered today.
Yeah, anything you can do, I can match, they're all saying. Honestly, I think that'll be one of the talking points of this tournament that I don't think many people expected. Obviously, everyone knows the quality of those 3 individuals, but it's becoming a direct shootout, really, for who's going to be the Golden Boot winner in this tournament. And it's great to see that they're more sort of keeping tabs of each other and following along. It's really good to watch, isn't it, Josh?
And that brings up my next question. Messi, I believe, is in pole position for the Golden Boot right now. He's got 5 goals in his first 2 games. Do you think that holds, or do you think Mbappe, Haaland, or even some third party or fourth party we're not even mentioning is going to sneak in and grab that coveted boot?
Yeah, I think it's hard for me really to look past Mbappe, and it goes to what we were saying earlier. In terms of quality, I don't think load separates the 3 where they are right now, but Norway really challenges to get to the final. It's hard to say that they are. Argentina, they've not really had a tough test so far in this tournament, so it's hard to say that they're ones that will go far. But France are a team that you put your money on reaching the last 4 of the last 8 in this tournament, and for Kylian Mbappe, that gives him more opportunities to stick the ball in the back of the net, which is what he does best.
Certainly impressive arguments, and it is going to be Mbappe versus Haaland, the matchup that I think everybody circled on their calendars when Group I matchups came on out. What are you expecting to see next Friday in what will be a winner-take-all game? France up just 1 on goal differential in an otherwise dead-even split at the top of the Group I table.
Yeah, both teams will be desperate to finish top of the group. That goes without being said. For Norway, perhaps it presents a bigger opportunity for them to progress through the next round of the tournament. France will be confident no matter who their opposition is. So perhaps Norway will be the ones trying to play on the front foot a little bit more. And Dark Horse says that Norway are going to get a reality check in the next match, which could also be true against the might of the 2022 finalists and 2018 winners, France. What are your thoughts, Josh?
I just want to point out the irony in Dark Horse saying that a popular World Cup Dark Horse pick is going to get a reality check in their next match. Not saying he's wrong, but I like irony. But that is going to do it for our watch along today. We want to thank all of you, especially those who joined in the comments section with us. I think we know who our fan of the match is going to be. Jamie, I will leave that one to you.
For me, I think it's hard to look past the GOAT, the comment section, Giuseppe D'Angelo.
And once again, he is the winner. He did have one of my favorite in terms of just timing comments. I know someone named Adam Dodick Sperber claims that Josh tops the broadcasting world. And then what I'm assuming was to some USA thing that I was mentioning, Giuseppe D'Angelo immediately responded to that since 1930, and that almost made me break. So just for that comment alone, I got to give it to Giuseppe again. Congratulations.
Fantastic. I love that one.
I promise I'm not that old. I feel about 96, but it's not been since 1930 that I've been broadcasting. But again, thanks so much for all of you for joining in to one of our watch-alongs when the round of 32 takes place in a week. Once we find out those matchups, we'll let you know which one that Jamie and I will be watching along with you right here on the State of Soccer TV YouTube channel. You can visit our website at stateofsoccertv.com. Make sure to give us a subscribe here on YouTube and a follow on Instagram at SOSoccerTV. Plenty of ways to stay with us, as we'll have a lot of World Cup content coming for you in just about every which way throughout the rest of this Mundial. So for myself, Josh Sperber, my incredible broadcast partner, Jamie Lauder, and our executive producer, Brian McDonough, I want to thank all of you for joining us for another great State of Soccer watch-along. This one ended in a 3-2 win for Norway and saw them punch their ticket into the round of 32 here at the World Cup. So thanks again for tuning in. Stay tuned to our social media channels to find out which game we will be watching with you next Monday. And please enjoy the rest of this World Cup and have a great week. Thanks again for tuning in, everybody. And we'll see you guys for another watch along next week on State of Soccer.